What's up, guys? It's Ben with 2020 election predictions, and in today's video, I'm going to be looking at an updated prediction on the 2020 presidential race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is where I see the map right now with the safe and the likely states filled in. The only likely Republican state I see is Alaska, and the likely Democratic states I see are New Mexico, Colorado, Minnesota, Virginia. And New Hampshire actually have as a lean state. I don't know why I already filled that in. But the only one that I think could be controversial would be Minnesota. I understand that this close was only won by Hillary Clinton by 1.5 points. But I do expect Joe Biden to win the state by more than 5 points, between a 5 and 12% margin, which is how I've characterized my likely label. And before I get too much into the video, I hate to always emphasize this and stress this, but I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. And once I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to start advertising my channels and all these things. But I'm only 30 away or 31 away. And I expect that by my next video, I will hit 1,000. That's my goal. And for my 1,000 subscriber special, I'd really like to do with a collaboration with Red Eagle Politics, Let's Talk Elections, or election predictions officials. So I have emailed all of them, and I haven't gotten a response yet, but I would encourage y'all to type in the comments to say that that's what y'all want, because I'm sure that y'all want that. And I also just want to thank y'all. My fans have been very good for me so far. I've only had this YouTube channel for 3 months, and I've already gotten to 1,000 subscribers. That is a big number, and just thank y'all for being so nice in the comments. So let's just dive right into the video. I'm going to start with the lean Republican states. And the first lean Republican state I'm going to have is Iowa. On my last video, Iowa was actually the only swing state that was that went for Donald Trump. It was only a tilt to Donald Trump. But states that we typically would assume would just be in the Republican column automatically, like Ohio, Georgia, and Texas, were actually tilting towards Biden, which was very, very interesting, I thought. But so Donald Trump won Iowa by 9.5 points in 2016. I don't think he'll do as well. I think it'll be between 2 and 5 points, which is exactly what the lean characterization is. They've had some polls that have had it close, but there's been no polls in Iowa that I know that have had Biden up, that have been outside the margin of error. And I think Donald Trump right now is in a very tough spot. I do expect his position to improve. Next, the only other lean Republican state that I actually see now is Ohio. And I think that Ohio very well could move to a tilt Republican state if Donald Trump keeps on stumbling in the polls and keeps on just having some bad moments. But there is some evidence that Donald Trump has hit his low point. I've seen in some models where it's kind of smoothed out right now. And I have seen some Rasmussen polls that have had him, not that Rasmussen's very trustworthy, but that he can do better. And just typically in Iowa and Ohio and generally in the Rust Belt, Donald Trump was kind of this transformational figure in politics that has made these states more competitive. So even though Barack Obama won Ohio twice, and you would maybe consider that Mitt Romney was in a better position in 2012 than Donald Trump is right now, still Ohio is a state that I think Donald Trump has an advantage in right now. So next up, I want to move to the tilt Republican states, because I think a lot of these states could kind of they're going to bounce between being tilt Republican and lean Republican. I have not had this characterization yet, but I think that Texas could be a tilt Republican state. I mean, I think it's right on that boundary line. I think that Donald Trump will win this state between 1 and 3 points, but the Democratic Party, the DNC, and a lot of kind of other Democratic-leaning PACs and interest groups have registered a ton of Democratic voters, and there's a lot of people that are moving from California to Texas and from the north to Texas just because the economy in Texas is booming so much. And especially with the uptake of coronavirus cases, I think some Texans are going to blame the Republican governor, the Republican lieutenant governor, and they might blame partly the Republican incumbent president. So if there was any time for Texas to turn blue, I think it would be now. However, I think it's going to be a little bit overhyped. I mean, you've seen all the news stories. There's one poll that had Biden up by 4 points. That still had, in that same poll, there was still 14% undecided. So I think Donald Trump will win a lot of those. There still are more registered Republicans in Texas than Democrats. However, I mean, Ted Cruz only won Texas by 1.5 points in 2018, and the demographics and registration numbers have still gone in the Democrats' advantage just in those short 2 years. So be on the lookout for Texas because I think it's going to bounce back between being tilt and lean Republican. I don't think I'm ever going to say that it's going to tilt Democratic, but we will see. We were surprised in 2016. So next up is the state of Georgia. I think Georgia right now is a tilt Republican state. Donald Trump, I think, has been up in the polls. If you just take the average of them, like Texas, but I mean, in the last 538 polls decided electoral map, we did see Biden ahead in these states. I think Georgia in 2024 might be a pure toss-up. Right now, I still have Georgia tilting towards the Republicans. So in the Senate races, I think will actually help Donald Trump because I think that like a figure like David Perdue is actually more popular than Trump in the state of Georgia, and same with like Doug Collins. So next up is North Carolina. I still characterize North Carolina as being a tilt Republican state. Donald Trump won North Carolina by 3.5 points. I understand that the Democrats are ahead in the polls right now, whether it's Joe Biden or Cal Cunningham. But Joe Biden is only up by, I think, like an average of 2 points right now. And I think that when that's considering Donald Trump is at a low point come election day, which is in 3.5 months, which is light years away in terms of kind of political time, because you still have the October surprises. You still have like the Donald Trump war chest has so much money that they're going to spend on negative campaign ads for sure. So I think that Donald Trump is going to eke this state out, but I think it literally could be within 1 point. Obama did win the state in 2008, but those were very unique conditions. I don't think Joe Biden will be as good at turning out the black vote as like Barack Obama was in 2008. And I mean, he lost the state in 2012, so it's still definitely a Republican-leaning state. The Senate race, on the other hand, I honestly think it could be tilting towards Cal Cunningham, the Democrat. But on the presidential level, I still think that Donald Trump has a slight advantage in the state. And moving on to the last tilt Republican state, that is the state of Arizona. And this is a new characterization. I've had Arizona as leaning towards the Democrats as of late. But I think with the increase in Hispanic support, we've seen poll after poll that has we've seen this in. And while Donald Trump really has been performing badly in other states, his numbers in Arizona have upticked a little bit. With Martha McSally on the ballot, it's going to be hard. I still don't think Martha McSally has a shot in Arizona, but I think that people in the state of Arizona will differentiate Donald Trump from Martha McSally. Right now, I can have it as an Arizona as a tilt Republican state, but easily I think this could go back. I want to see more data out of the state of Arizona. So next up, moving to the lean Democratic states, I think definitely the first one is Michigan. And I really think I could even consider Michigan as a likely Democratic state. I think Joe Biden has the potential to win this state by more than 5 points. It has the highest African-American population out of the Rust Belt. It is the most diverse state. And I've talked about this earlier, how I think Michigan, especially out of all of them, was more of a fluke. African-American voter turnout declined sharply in Michigan, and like in these urban places like Flint and Detroit. I think it was a lot to do with that. They just didn't trust Hillary Clinton. I think Joe Biden, while he's not as astute of a politician as like a Barack Obama, for example, I think he will be able to win some of these votes. So I think Michigan will be a Joe Biden win between like 3 and 6 points right now is how I see it. Next up is the state of Nevada. While Donald Trump has had some increases in Hispanic support. Nevada voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, so I don't think a lot of Hispanic voters are very enthused about Joe Biden, and some of them might not show up on election day or vote for Donald Trump. I still think that Nevada, the Democrats have an advantage. There's still more registered Democrats in Nevada. And typically, Nevada in the 2016 and 2018 election, we've polled it a lot closer than it ended up being on election day. So, like, while in 2016, the polls typically underestimated Trump, Nevada was a state where they underestimated Hillary Clinton. So, I still consider Nevada as a lean Democratic state. Next up is the state of Wisconsin. I've had Wisconsin as a tilt Democratic state, but just looking at the polls right now that have Joe Biden up by 7 or 8 points, I really just right now can't see Donald Trump winning the state or even coming within 2 points of winning the state. I understand that he did it in 2016, but 2020 is a lot different from 2016. And I think there's just not the support for Donald Trump in 2020, I don't think is just as much as it was in 2016. But we will see. I've had Wisconsin as a tilt Democratic state and even as a tilt Republican state in the past. So I expect as Donald Trump's position improves, which I think it will, that Wisconsin will change. But right now, I really see it as a lean Democratic state. Next up is Pennsylvania. I also consider it as a lean Democratic state towards Joe Biden. I could see this characterization changing over time, just like Wisconsin. I feel more confident about Michigan being a lean Democratic state, but Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, I think they have more like rural populations if you just look at the demographics of it. And I could see these changing definitely as Donald Trump improves. So lastly is the state of Florida. Right now I see Florida as a tilt Democratic state. I understand that the polls have Joe Biden up by like 5 or 6 points right now, which I think is a really bad sign for the Trump campaign. However, Joe Biden is not getting over 50% in these polls, and the polls in 2018 were very bad. They underestimated the Republicans by like 3 points. And if we look at the history of Florida, it's been the closest state for presidential elections in the past 20 years. I mean, in 2000, it was famously very close. In 2008, even though when Barack Obama had a landslide, it was pretty close. In 2012, it was very close. 2016, very, very close. And I think just because with the older populations right now are being more and more turned off by Donald Trump, I think because of his response to the coronavirus. But I think as the coronavirus starts to go away, I think I just saw that there's a experimental vaccine. Like if this comes to fruition, I think Donald Trump's standing will improve in the state of Florida. And I didn't fill in these congressional districts. I think right now this congressional district tilts to the Republicans, and this one tilts towards Joe Biden. Even though Donald Trump won this is kind of one of those suburban districts, kind of like the only urban district in Nebraska, and that's kind of a stretch. I mean, it's where Omaha is. I think that Joe Biden will be able to flip this district. All right, so there you have it. My predictions right now are 308 for Joe Biden, and 230 for Donald Trump. And this is almost kind of mimics the electoral votes counts for the 2016 election. Just flip the party. But those are my predictions right now. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already.